One of the most deceptive things about comfort is how good it feels. It feels right. It feels earned. It feels like peace. But that's the trick. It feels like safety, while quietly suffocating our potential. Most people don't realize that the comfort they work so hard to achieve has quietly turned into the very thing holding them back. It's not that comfort is evil. It's that it whispers too softly for us to notice when it begins to control us. You see, the human brain is wired for survival, not for greatness. We're designed to seek what's familiar, predictable, and easy to manage. That instinct served us well thousands of years ago, when danger was physical. When stepping outside the cave might have meant becoming dinner for something larger. But in the modern world, the threats are different. The lions and tigers are gone, yet our fear system still fires the same way. So instead of fearing predators, we fear failure. We fear embarrassment. We fear uncertainty. And to protect ourselves, we build these invisible cages called comfort zones. What starts as security becomes stagnation. The job that once challenged you becomes a routine that dulls you. The habits that once kept you grounded become rituals that keep you stuck. And because nothing seems wrong, we don't question it. That's the danger. Comfort doesn't shout. It hums quietly in the background, lulling us into a kind of slow sleep. The illusion of safety is seductive. It tells you, stay here, you're doing fine. But that voice never tells you that fine is the enemy of fulfilled. Fine is the language of mediocrity, the gray zone where ambition goes to die. Comfort convinces you that you're safe, when in reality, you're drifting, not drowning, but not swimming either. You're just floating, waiting for something external to change your direction. Think about this. Every comfort zone has a hidden cost. The cost of not trying something new. The cost of avoiding discomfort. The cost of not becoming the version of yourself you're capable of being. Most people don't pay that price all at once. They pay it over time, in small installments of regret. A little dissatisfaction here, a bit of lost curiosity there. And one day, they wake up realizing the price of comfort was their growth. Jim Rohn used to say, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better." That's not just motivational advice. It's a philosophy of life. The people who grow, who rise, who make a difference, they understand that comfort is temporary, but that the pain of stagnation lasts forever. They don't chase what's easy. They chase what's meaningful. And meaning always demands something from you. It asks for your effort, your courage, your willingness to be uncomfortable for the sake of something larger. If you look at anyone who has achieved lasting fulfillment, not just success, but fulfillment, you'll find a common thread. They learn to question comfort. They learn to distinguish between rest and retreat, between peace and paralysis. They learn that safety is not the same thing as growth. So when you catch yourself saying, "I'm comfortable," stop and ask, is that comfort a reward for growth or a refuge from fear? Because the difference between those two will determine whether your life expands or contracts from here on out. Growth demands discomfort. There's really no way around it. Everything in nature that grows must first stretch, strain, or break through resistance. Think about it. The seed has to push through the soil before it ever sees the sun. The muscle has to tear before it becomes stronger. The mind has to confront confusion before it gains understanding. It's the same law everywhere. In the gym, in business, in relationships, in life. Growth is never comfortable, and comfort never produces growth. Now, most people admire growth, but they resist the process that causes it. They want the result without the requirement. They want to be strong without struggle, wise without failure, successful without sacrifice. But that's not how human development works. Discomfort is the tuition we pay for progress. And like any good education, the lessons don't come cheap. When you start something new, a job, a project, a dream, that initial phase of uncertainty and awkwardness isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something right. Your brain is rewiring. Your character is adjusting. Your limits are being tested. Yet, this is where most people quit. Not because they can't handle it, but because they mistake discomfort for danger. They think, this feels bad, so it must be bad. But feelings aren't facts. Discomfort isn't a red light. It's a green light that says, keep going. You're entering new territory. The challenge is psychological. Our minds crave equilibrium, a steady state where everything feels predictable. It's part of our biological design. But that same instinct that keeps us balanced also keeps us small. Every time we approach a new level, the mind starts negotiating with fear. Do you really need to push this hard? Isn't this good enough? That's comfort talking again, trying to lure you back to safety. And if you listen too long, you'll mistake resistance for reason. Discomfort, however, is the language of growth. It tells you that you're at the edge of your old self. And here's something most people never realize. Discomfort isn't punishment, it's proof. Proof that you're alive, that you're changing, that you're stepping beyond what you've already mastered. When you start to see discomfort that way, it stops being something to escape and starts being something to embrace. Let's make it practical. Imagine two people running the same race. One hits mile 3, feels tired, and slows down. The other feels the same fatigue, but interprets it differently. Not as a signal to stop, but as confirmation that the real work has begun. They both feel pain, but one sees it as a barrier, the other as a bridge. The difference isn't in the body. It's in the mindset. And that's the secret. Growth isn't about how much you can endure. It's about how much meaning you can assign to the endurance. If you see discomfort as suffering, you'll avoid it. But if you see it as significance, you'll welcome it. Every challenge becomes an invitation to expand your capacity. Jim Rohn often said, "Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills." That's what discomfort gives you. Skills, resilience, perspective. It teaches you to adapt, to stay calm when things get hard, to trust yourself when certainty disappears. These are the qualities that separate those who drift from those who lead. So when life becomes uncomfortable, don't rush to fix it, escape it, or numb it. Sit with it. Learn from it, because that tension, that unease, is your teacher. It's sculpting you into someone stronger than you were yesterday. There's always a price to pay for staying comfortable. It doesn't show up right away. That's what makes it so dangerous. It's not like jumping off a cliff. It's more like a slow leak. You don't notice it day by day, but over time, you begin to feel it in your energy, your enthusiasm, your sense of purpose. Comfort has a quiet cost, and it collects in the currency of your potential. When you avoid challenge, you don't just avoid difficulty. You avoid development. Every time you choose the easy road, you reinforce the idea that you can't handle more, and your mind believes you. It adjusts. It lowers your expectations, reduces your risk tolerance, and slowly erases your hunger. It's not that you lose ability, you lose ambition. You stop reaching, and once you stop reaching, you stop growing. Most people don't fall into failure. They ease into it. They coast, thinking they're maintaining balance. But in reality, they're slipping backward. Growth doesn't stand still. You're either moving forward or moving backward. There is no neutral. Comfort convinces you that standing still is safe, but life doesn't work that way. In a world that's constantly evolving, comfort is a kind of decay. It's progress in reverse. Look around long enough, and you'll see it everywhere. The worker who stays in the same job for years, not because they love it, but because it's secure. The couple who stop communicating deeply, because it's easier to avoid difficult conversations. The creative who never shares their work, because it's more comfortable to keep it private. They all pay the same price. A quiet erosion of vitality. They trade the thrill of growth for the illusion of stability. Now, I'm not saying comfort is useless. Rest has its place. Recovery is essential. But there's a fine line between recharging and retreating. When rest turns into routine, and routine turns into avoidance, that's when comfort starts costing you more than it gives back. The body at rest too long grows weaker. The mind unstimulated too long grows dull. Even joy fades when it's no longer challenged. Jim Rohn used to talk about the danger of drifting. How easy it is to let days blend together. Each one slightly more comfortable, slightly less alive. He said, "The same wind blows on us all. It's not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail that determines your direction." In other words, life will keep moving whether you do or not. If you don't set your course intentionally, you'll drift wherever comfort takes you. And it rarely leads somewhere inspiring. Comfort also shrinks your world. The longer you stay within the boundaries of what's familiar, the smaller your confidence becomes. You stop trusting yourself to handle uncertainty. You start needing predictability, and anything unfamiliar begins to feel threatening. What was once a comfort zone becomes a confinement zone. A prison built from your own preferences. There's a psychological trap in comfort too. The brain rewards you for avoiding discomfort with small bursts of relief. You feel good for not taking the risk, for not facing the tension. But over time, that relief turns into regret. It's a short-term trade. Comfort now, disappointment later. The hard truth is, if you always choose comfort, you'll eventually choose it over growth, over meaning, even over happiness. Every life reaches a point where comfort stops being rest and starts being resistance. When that moment comes, you'll feel it. That quiet dissatisfaction, that sense that something inside you is waiting for permission to move again. That's your potential knocking, asking if you're still listening. Discomfort has a bad reputation. Most people see it as a signal to stop, to pull back, to protect themselves. We've been conditioned to believe that if something feels uncomfortable, it must be wrong. But that's not true. Not psychologically, not philosophically, not even biologically. Discomfort is not a threat. It's a signal. It's the body and mind's way of saying, you've reached the edge of what's familiar. Something new is about to begin. The problem is, we misinterpret that signal. We confuse discomfort with danger because they feel similar. Both create tension, both trigger fear. But the difference lies in the context. Danger means you're at risk of harm. Discomfort means you're at risk of growth. The sensations might overlap, but the outcomes couldn't be more different. The person who learns to tell the two apart becomes unstoppable because they stop running from the very thing that helps them evolve. Psychologically, discomfort activates awareness. When you're comfortable, your brain goes on autopilot. You stop noticing details, stop questioning patterns, stop learning. But when you're uncomfortable, everything sharpens. You become alert, focused, alive. It's your mind's way of adapting to change. Discomfort isn't a failure of the system. It's evidence that the system is expanding. Philosophically, it's the same principle the Stoics taught centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle is the way, meaning that what feels like resistance is often the exact path we're meant to take. The Stoics didn't glorify suffering for its own sake. They understood that growth and discomfort are intertwined. You cannot strengthen the soul without stretching it. You cannot build resilience in theory. You build it through friction, through pressure, through the moments that make you want to turn back. And yet, most people do turn back. They interpret discomfort as a stop sign rather than a doorway. They say, this feels hard, maybe it's not meant to be. But think about that logic. If hard meant wrong, then every meaningful thing in your life, from learning to walk, to building relationships, to mastering a skill, would have been a mistake. The truth is, discomfort is part of every process that matters. It's not a wall, it's a weight. And like any weight, it's meant to be lifted. When you begin to see discomfort differently, you start to change your relationship with fear. You stop asking, how can I avoid it? And start asking, what is it trying to teach me? That shift in mindset is powerful because now, instead of retreating, you engage. You lean in. You begin to view discomfort as a form of feedback. A message about where you're growing, where you're learning, and where you still need to improve. Jim Rohn used to say, we all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline always involves discomfort. The discomfort of consistency, of focus, of restraint. But regret is the discomfort of avoidance, of potential left unused. One pain builds you, the other breaks you. And the irony is, the pain of discipline is temporary, while the pain of regret can last a lifetime. So when discomfort shows up, when your heart races before a presentation, when your mind resists that new project, when your routine starts to feel uncertain, recognize it for what it is, a sign that you're alive in your own evolution. The goal isn't to eliminate discomfort. It's to reinterpret it, to make it your compass rather than your enemy. Because once you stop running from discomfort, it stops chasing you. It becomes fuel. It becomes feedback. It becomes freedom. The truth is simple. Discomfort is not the enemy of growth. It's the doorway to it. There's a kind of strength that only comes from choosing discomfort on purpose. It's one thing to endure difficulty when life throws it at you. We all face that. But it's another thing entirely to seek it out, to willingly put yourself in situations that stretch you, test you, and reveal what you're made of. That's what I call voluntary hardship. The decision to do what's difficult, not because you have to, but because you know it's good for you. Now, at first glance, that might sound strange. Why would anyone choose discomfort? Haven't we been taught to make life easier, more efficient, more convenient? The truth is, most of the comforts we chase were never meant to replace challenge. They were meant to reward it. But somewhere along the way, comfort became the goal instead of the result. And that's when we began to weaken, not physically, but mentally and spiritually. Voluntary hardship reverses that pattern. It's the conscious act of stepping into discomfort so that life doesn't have to shove you into it later. It's building resilience on your own terms. When you do something hard by choice, waking up early, pushing your limits in the gym, learning a skill that intimidates you, or saying no to a distraction, you're not just training your body or your discipline. You're training your mind to understand that temporary discomfort is not to be feared. You're teaching yourself that pain can have purpose. Philosophically, this idea isn't new. The Stoics practiced it 2,000 years ago. Seneca would sleep on the floor for a few nights to remind himself that luxury was not a necessity. He said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" What he was doing wasn't punishment. It was preparation. By choosing discomfort voluntarily, he made himself immune to fear. Because when you face discomfort willingly, you no longer panic when life forces it upon you. Psychologically, this practice builds what researchers now call stress inoculation. A concept that means exactly what it sounds like. Just as vaccines expose the body to small doses of a virus to strengthen the immune system, voluntary hardship exposes you to small doses of stress to strengthen your mind. You become less reactive, more grounded. You stop being thrown off by every inconvenience or obstacle because you've trained for it. Jim Rohn used to remind people that success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. And you become that person through challenge, through friction, through the willingness to do what others won't. That's what voluntary hardship gives you. It transforms discipline into identity. You stop doing hard things to impress others, and you start doing them because that's simply who you are. Now, let's be clear. Voluntary hardship isn't about punishment, or proving toughness. It's about reclaiming control. Because if you don't choose your challenges, life will choose them for you. And life's challenges don't ask for permission. The person who avoids all difficulty eventually discovers that comfort doesn't protect them. It just leaves them unprepared. But the one who faces discomfort on purpose builds confidence. They know, I can handle this. I've been here before. It's a simple formula. The more discomfort you voluntarily face, the less fear controls your life. Every act of self-discipline, every choice to do what's hard when it would be easier not to. That's a deposit into your bank of self-respect. Over time, it compounds. You stop doubting your ability to handle the unexpected because you've already proven it in practice. And that's the beauty of voluntary hardship. It doesn't just prepare you for adversity. It frees you from dependency. When you can do what's hard, you no longer need life to be easy. So remember this. The person who chooses discomfort on purpose lives with power. The one who avoids it lives with fear. At some point, we have to redefine what comfort really means. Because most people are chasing a version of comfort that doesn't exist. A kind of permanent ease. A life without struggle. Without pressure, without worry. But that's not comfort, that's escape. Real comfort isn't the absence of challenge. It's the presence of confidence. It's knowing that whatever comes your way, you have the strength, the discipline, and the mindset to handle it. We've been sold the idea that comfort is found in convenience. Faster technology, softer routines, fewer demands. But comfort without growth turns to numbness. When life becomes too easy, it loses its edge. You stop feeling alive, and that's when the slow drift into dissatisfaction begins. The paradox is this: the harder you work on yourself, the more genuine comfort you experience. Because true comfort doesn't come from controlling your environment. It comes from mastering your response to it. Think about it. When you're confident in your ability to adapt, you don't need everything to be perfect. You don't panic when plans change. You don't crumble when things go wrong. You're comfortable in the chaos because you trust yourself. That's the kind of comfort worth chasing. The inner calm that comes from capability, not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances. Philosophically, this is what maturity looks like. As children, we associate comfort with being taken care of. As adults, we learn that comfort is created, not given. It's built through responsibility, through competence, through living intentionally instead of reactively. Comfort becomes less about avoiding pain and more about embracing purpose. When your life has meaning, even discomfort feels different. It becomes direction, not suffering. Jim Rohn often said, "Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high." That's not just advice about business or success. It's a principle for life. The easy crowd is comfortable, yes, but it's also complacent. And the danger of complacency is that it disguises itself as contentment. You think you're satisfied, but really, you're just settled. And settling is the enemy of becoming. So, how do you redefine comfort in practical terms? You start by shifting the question. Instead of asking, what will make me feel comfortable right now? Ask, what will make me proud later? That simple change in perspective pulls you out of the momentary lure of ease and points you toward long-term fulfillment. Because the things that make you proud are rarely comfortable in the moment. They're challenging, uncertain, often uncomfortable. But they build something lasting inside you. Redefining comfort also means learning to find peace within effort. Most people separate the two. They think peace only comes after the work is done. But the truth is, peace can be present in the middle of struggle when you know why you're doing it. When you're aligned with your values, when you're pursuing something meaningful, the work itself becomes fulfilling. The effort becomes energizing. And once you reach that point, comfort changes shape. It's no longer a couch. It's a calling. It's not stillness. It's strength. You find comfort in motion, in mastery, in knowing that you are not avoiding life, but engaging with it fully. That's the kind of comfort that lasts, because it's built on growth, not avoidance. So yes, comfort can be good, but only when it's earned, only when it's built on resilience, not retreat. Because real comfort isn't about finding a life that asks less of you. It's about becoming a person who can handle more of life.